Good morning. I have 9 o'clock in the morning on September the 14th. This will summon the time for the Dealer Practices Committee meeting. Alice, if you would please read the roll.
Ron Cody,
Here.
Steve Farmer,
Here.
Michael Bohr, Liza Borges, Britt, Gardner, are you with us?
Maurice, could you please, Maurice, could you please silence your phone?
Rob Fisher,
Here.
Matt McQueen,
Here.
Chris Mayer,
Here.
Beth Malloy,
Here.
Senior Sagaffi.
Here.
Okay, the only one that didn't say he was here that was supposed to be here is Gardner. Is he now on?
This is Don Sullivan. I'm here.
Okay, hey Don. I'm looking for Gardner. All right, Ron,
Yes.
out of 10, including Gardner, you have 3 that are out, so you have a quorum.
Thank you, Alice. Since a quorum is present, we will move on. I will remind everybody as we work through today's agenda, public comment will be taken for those topics on the agenda. And remember, every topic on the agenda will then become part of the full board meeting later on today. In your book is the July 13th meeting summary. If there are no objections, I will assume that the summary in the book is approved. We have 2 topics under old business. The first, William, is just a brief update on the dealer portal. But before we get to that, I also want to remind everybody that you should have gotten a summary of all the July actions, and that is in your book as well. And we will move on to old business. William, I think we want to talk a little bit about the dealer portal.
Yes, good morning, Ron, and good morning, board members, and thank you, Ron. The last board meeting in July, we spent a lot of time talking about a dealer portal, the concept of it, and we looked at a few proposals that were submitted to us by 3 various vendors. At the end of that meeting, the commissioner, the chairman of the board, Chairman Holcomb, appointed a subcommittee to look further into this process to, I guess, provide some more information back to the board. That subcommittee comprised of the current board chairman, and Mr. Cody was appointed to be the chair of this particular subcommittee. Since the last meeting, the staff put a survey out to the National Association of Motor Vehicle Boards and Commissions Association, which I'm the vice president of. And out of that survey, we got 2 responses from Tennessee and from Indiana. John Saul, who is my IT resource, and I sat down and contacted Indiana and Tennessee and talked to them in depth about their solutions for their licensing portion as far as the job goes. What we found out from both states is that both states have a COT solution in place, and COT solution is pretty much a commercial off-the-shelf software that was modified for their particular agency's use. We also discovered that in both situations that the software that was used was purchased for the enterprise. In other words, multiple agencies within the state are using the same software, but the software was modified to meet each agency's specific needs. So also prior to the meeting with the subcommittee, John and I talked to other, I guess, agencies in the state of Virginia, licensing agencies like the Department of Education, the Department of Accounts, and some of the DPOR units, who all also use a COT solution that's been modified for this specific use. So with that knowledge, then the subcommittee did meet. We met one time, and in that meeting, the committee itself and all those who attended up to speed as to what our findings were, the process we used to get where we were, and the bottom line is that as of right now, what we're looking for or what we're waiting for is that vendors, specifically vendors B and C, have come back and said they will give us some type of demonstration, and other people will as well. So right now, the committee is just waiting for these demonstrations to be set up so that we can get an idea of what people's solutions look like. That's where we are now.
William, do you have any idea on a time frame when those demonstrations may be provided?
I don't have a specific time frame, Ron, but I can tell you that we have heard from both of them over the weekend. I will imagine will be sometime very soon. And what we have to do is we're looking into a couple of things. One thing that we have heard from one of them is that they do not want to necessarily divulge their trade secrets in a public forum and lose their competitive advantage or competitive edge. So we're looking into that to see how we can do this, meet our requirement, but at the same time not expose what they're doing to their competitor. But that's something I think we can get done real soon. And so the main thing here, though, is that since we do have more than one board member participating, it is considered a public meeting, and so we have to abide by those guidelines. But we'll work through that with the assistance, rather, from Christian Parish out of the AG's office. So I think something's going to happen real soon.
Okay. Are there any questions for William on the dealer portal? Okay, hearing none, we will then move on with the agenda. And again, I want to remind everybody, please mute your phones unless you have the floor to limit any feedback as we go through these topics. Under old business.
Ron, I'm sorry, this is Chris. I've just got a quick question for William. William, do I need to pull myself out of this first case with Thomas Mod based on the information I shared with you?
It's probably best you do abstain, yes, just to be safe. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cody.
Okay, so under old business, we have tab 1, which was a tabled issue, Thomas Mod, Gold Star Motor Company. Tab 1, if there's anybody here to speak on tab 1, you will be given an opportunity to speak once William reads the case. William, tab 1.
Yes. Thomas K. Mod, Gold Star Motor Company. Historical overview leading up to the formal hearing. On March 5th, 2019, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Sections 46.2-1529, 46.2-1539, 46.2-1542B, 46.2-1547, 46.2-1550, and 46.2-1575, numbers 2 and 6. Based on information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended assessing a civil penalty of $9,000, a written warning for violating Code Section 46.2-1539, and revocation of Mr. Mod's dealer operator qualification. At the July 8th, 2019 committee and full board meetings, the board adopted a resolution agreeing with the hearing officer's recommendation of assessing a civil penalty of $9,000, revocation of Mr. Mod's dealer operator qualification, and a written warning for violating Virginia Code Section 46.2-1539. On September 27, 2019, Mr. Mod appealed for a formal hearing, but prior to appealing the decision, Mr. Mod had made a payment of $1,000 on the $9,000 civil penalty. On November 6, 2019, a formal hearing was conducted to address the alleged violations. Based on the information provided at the hearing officer recommended assessing a civil penalty of $9,000, a written warning for violating Virginia Code Section 46.2-1539, and revocation of Mr. Mod's dealer operator qualification. Mr. Mod was present and spoke on his own behalf. Michael Bohr moved to table this issue until the September board meeting. Joe Tate second, Senior Sagafi abstained due to a working relationship with Mr. Mod. And motion carried.
Okay, so this was a formal review of the findings. Then we tabled this issue. Here we are at the September timeframe. The latest hearing officer's recommendation was a $9,000, uphold the $9,000 civil penalty, of which some has been paid. We revoked the dealer license, and I think now this individual is working as a salesperson at another dealership, the one that he originally worked at. Is there anyone here to speak to Gold Star Motor Company, Thomas Mott?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, gentlemen.
Okay, is this Mr. Mott?
Yes, this is Thomas Mott.
Okay, if Mr. Mott,
I'm
you
sorry,
have the
sorry you couldn't see me, and I can't see you. I was unable to join the live session, but I am on my phone.
Okay, you are live on your phone, and you have the floor, Mr. Mott, to talk to us a little bit about your situation.
Well, hopefully I'm getting through it all. There have been no further or no issues since the last hearing. There are a couple of lingering cases that are being worked through the courts. A couple of people suing me, for money. But I am still working at Dallas Motor Cars, still working my 6 and 7 days a week, and trying to get through all of this. Now, I, would like to propose, to find a way to make this, put it to bed today. Whether we can reduce the penalty or, if we can get it to, like, I believe there's $8,000 remaining. If there is any way we can get that to like $3,000 or less, I can pay it right away. If it's more than $3,000, I guess put it at like $500 a month. And I would like, if it's okay with all of you gentlemen, let's get past this, and, sorry for everything that has happened the way it did.
Are there any questions for Mr. Mott? Anybody from the board? Have we had any, I think this business was closed in maybe 2018, his business. Have we had any claims against the Transaction Recovery Fund?
I'm sorry if I may. There was one, but I did not. I paid it myself. There was an $1,800 for Mr. Campisi, and I paid it, and it did not make it to the recovery fund. There are no claims against the recovery fund that I'm aware of.
William, can you verify that?
Yes, I can verify the one he did pay it. And to my knowledge, there's nothing against the fund right now.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Mott? Okay, sir.
Did you call my name?
Excuse me?
Did you call my name, Hamed?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
If there are no other questions, any discussion by the board, please? No discussion by the board. Is there a motion? Would anyone like to make a motion? Who are my board members that are on here? Chris, you're not speaking to this topic, right?
No, he can't.
I cannot speak to this topic. I would love to, but I can't.
Okay. Okay. Is there any motion from the floor? I need a motion, please.
I would make a motion that we cut the fine to $6,000 instead of $9,000 total.
And as far as I understand right now, William, there has been $1,000 paid against the initial $9,000 fine?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion to reduce the fine to $6,000? Any second to the motion? Motion dies then for a lack of a second. Is there another motion from the floor?
Ron?
Yes.
This is Steve Farmer. I would make the motion that we leave the $9,000 penalty like it is, let him make payments on it, and let him keep his sales license.
Okay, so it's really, that was, I think, the recommendation from the last formal hearing, that he keeps his sales license and that we retain the $9,000 penalty. So you're really agreeing with the hearing officers. Is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, Ron, this is Matt McQueen, having some problems getting off of mute, but yes, I do second that.
Okay, we have a second from Mr. McQueen on the motion to really accept the hearing officer's recommendation of keeping his salesperson license and coming up with a payment plan for the civil penalty of the initial $9,000. Alice, if we can take a vote on this.
Before we vote, Ron, it also includes the revocation of his dealer operator qualification and the issue written warning for violating 46.2-1539.
Yes.
Which is
yes.
Motion. I just want to make sure everybody understood the whole motion. Thank you.
Yes, it was revocation of his dealer license, and he would keep a salesperson license to allow him to earn a living and to pay back the civil penalty, which was $9,000, and that is the motion. Any other discussion?
Yes.
And Alice, if we could take a vote.
Okay, Ron Cody,
Aye.
Steve Farmer, Steve Farmer,
Aye.
is Gardner Britt here yet?
Aye.
Rob Fisher,
Aye.
Matt McQueen,
Aye.
Chris Mayer. Oh, you're abstaining?
Yes, I'm abstaining.
Jeff Malloy,
Aye.
Senior Sagasi, are you still abstaining?
He has to.
Yes. I have to.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, motion carries for $9,000 civil penalty at the warning, revocation of dealer operator qualification, and retention of salesperson license. Mr. Ahmad, you'll be given an opportunity to speak again in the full board meeting, which will follow the committee meetings later on today. William, that will take us to, is there any old business from the floor?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, this is Rick Holcomb. I'm thinking, and our council can confirm, I think Robert's rules require the folks who are abstaining to state the reason why they're abstaining.
I'd be more than glad to. I'm abstaining. This is Chris Mayer, and I am abstaining because my son was on a jury trial with Mr. Thomas Mod, and I'm familiar with that, so I'm abstaining from anything to do with that.
Senior?
And Senior Sagapi, yeah, Mr. Mott still works for my dealership, so that'd be a conflict of interest for him to me to vote or for the board.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, thank you for the procedural clarification. Is there any other old business from the floor? Okay, that will take us on to new business. Tab 2 under new business is Midtown Motors, John Forney. William?
Mr. Chairman, about 10 minutes to 9, Mr. Forney contacted this office. He has a conflict. He's due in court in Newport News at 9 o'clock, and he has asked us to table his case until the November meeting.
Okay. Can I get a motion from one of the committee members?
This is Matt McQueen. I'd make that motion.
Okay, can
I'll
I
second.
get a second? Okay,
Second by
Chris Mayer seconds. Alice, if we can go ahead and take a vote.
Ron Cody,
Aye.
Steve Farmer, Steve Farmer,
Aye.
Gardner Britt,
Aye.
Rob Fisher,
Aye.
Matt McQueen,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
Jeff Malloy,
Aye.
Senior Sagafi.
I'm sorry, I lost the audio for a minute. So what are we voting for?
So the motion on table, Senior, is to table tab 2 until the November 9th meeting due to the Mr. Forney not being able to attend for another court obligation.
Okay. Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries to table this until the November 9th meeting. That will take us to tab 3, United Auto Groups, Hamad, and I'm going to mispronounce this, Abnozid. Tab 3, William.
Yes. Historical overview leading up to the formal hearing. On February 24th, 2020, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code sections 46.2-1529, 46.2-1533, 46.2-1539, 46.2-1548, 46.2-1550, and 46.2-1575, number 2. Based on the information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended a satisfactory inspection conducted within 90 days and successful completion of a 2-day dealer operator course. At the June 15th, 2020 committee and full board meetings, the board adopted a resolution agreeing with the hearing officer's recommendation of a satisfactory inspection to be completed on or before September the 15th, 2020 for Hamad Abuzat to successfully complete the dealer operator course on or before December the 15th, 2020. On June 22nd, 2020, Mr. Abuzat appealed for a formal hearing. On August 11th, 2020, a formal hearing was conducted to address the alleged violations. Based on information provided at the hearing officer recommended a satisfactory inspection within 90 days and successful completion of the 2-day dealer operator course.
Okay, so in a nutshell, this is the result of a formal hearing that basically, it did agree with the original outcome, which is the 90-day satisfactory inspection and successful completion of the 2-day dealer operator course. Is there anyone on the line to speak to tab 3, United Auto Groups?
With
Anyone?
United,
Yes.
I'm sorry, is there someone on the line to speak?
yeah, I'm Hamid with United Auto.
Okay, Hamed,
Yes.
you have the floor.
Okay. I mean, do you need me to speak or not? I don't know.
It's up to you. What normally would happen at this point is, I assume you're here talking to this point because you do not agree with the hearing officer's recommendation for the 2-day course and a 90-day successful inspection.
Actually, I was not attending. I wasn't there when they made the decision last time because I did not receive the email at that time. That's why.
Okay.
And I'm just, in general, I will do my best, and I promise I will get things straight. That's what I can say now.
Okay. Okay. And so before us, we have the decision right now on the 90-day inspection and 2-day dealer operator course. Do you have any other comments on that?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you for your time, and you'll be given an opportunity to speak in the full board meeting. Is there any questions for Mr. Hamad, though, before he signs off?
Yes, sir.
We suggested you go to the 2-day course in February. It's now September. Why haven't you done that?
No, I requested for appeal at that time. When they sent me the email to attend the meetings, I did not receive nothing. No, I didn't refuse at all. No.
Let me add something for procedural purposes. Once he put in for the appeal, that pretty much put everything into abeyance until we got to the formal and the process we're going through now. So he's done everything within the defined guidelines to be where he is now. So he didn't have to attend the class at the time because he appealed the decision.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Hamad? Okay, thank you, sir. Any discussion by the committee?
Ron, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to accept the hearing officer's recommendation for the satisfactory inspection in 90 days and the 2-day dealer operator class.
I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a motion to accept the hearing officer's recommendation of a satisfactory inspection within 90 days and successful completion of the 2-day dealer operator school. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, then we will go ahead, Alice, and vote on this motion.
Ron Cody,
Aye.
Steve Farmer,
Aye.
Gardner Britt,
Aye.
Ralph Fisher,
Aye.
Matt McQueen,
Aye.
Chris Mayer,
Aye.
Jeff Malloy,
Aye.
Senior Sagafi.
Senior? Are you there, Senior?
He put his finger up, aye.
Okay. All right, motion carries.
Okay, so motion carries for 2-day dealer operator course and 90-day successful inspection of this dealership. And sir, you'll be given another opportunity to speak if you'd like in the full board meeting. This brings us to tab 4, and please, if you would, mute your phones if you do not have the floor to produce any background feedback. Tab 4 is Speed Hunters Automotive Group, LLC. Mr. Gardia.
Yes, Mr. Antonio Jimenez. Yes, that's me.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning. William, if you would please read tab 4, and then, sir, you'll be given the floor.
Yes, before I read, I apologize for the background noise. They're doing yard work outside the window, so I need to repeat something. Please let me know. Tab 4, Speed Hunters Automotive Group and Antonio A. Jimenez. Historical overview leading up to the formal hearing. On February 13th, 2020, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Sections 46.2-1529, 46.2-1532, 46.2-1539, 46.2-1548, 46.2-1561, and 46.2-1575, number 2. Based on the information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended assessing a civil penalty of $4,250, a satisfactory inspection to be performed within 3 months, successful completion of a 2-day dealer operator course, and suspension of Mr. Jimenez's dealer operator qualification for 90 days. The hearing officer also suggested that the dealer's online dealer applications be placed on hold until successful completion of the recommendations. At the March 9th, 2020 committee and full board meetings, the board adopted a resolution agreeing with the hearing officer's recommendations and assessed a civil penalty of $4,250, suspension of Antonio Jimenez's dealer operator qualification for 90 days, requiring a satisfactory inspection of the Speed Hunters Automotive Group dealership within 90 days of Mr. Jimenez's dealer operator qualification being reinstated, and required successful completion of the 2-day dealer operator course on or before September the 9th, 2020. On March 23rd, 2020, Mr. Jimenez appealed for a formal hearing. On August 11th, 2020, a formal hearing was conducted to address the alleged violations. Based on the information provided at the hearing officer recommended assessing a civil penalty of $3,750, a satisfactory inspection within 90 days, and successful completion of the 2-day dealer operator course.
William, just a point of clarification.
Yes.
When I looked at the formal hearing civil penalty, it adds up to me to still be $4,250. The $750. I'm showing 3 for 1,000. Oh no, I see it. 3 for 1,000. You're right. $3,750.
Yeah,
So,
has been right.
So what basically happened is there was first a fact finding, then there was a decision by the board, and then there was a formal hearing. And the difference in the formal hearing to the fact finding in our original decision is a reduction of the $4,250 civil penalty to $3,750. Still a 90-day successful completion, still a 2-day course, but reinstating the dealer license so this individual can continue operation.
Right.
That's it in a nutshell, right?
Basically, yes. They removed the 90-day suspension of the dealer operator license, yes.
Yes. Mr. Jimenez, you have the floor if you'd like to tell us a little bit about your situation.
Thank you. So basically, yes, that's what happened that day. I'm gonna be completely honest with everybody. The day of the formal hearing, I was there, and to be honest, I got, I can say I was afraid of standing up in front of everybody, and to be honest, I wasn't really prepared for that. So when everybody said that I was going to get my license suspended for 90 days, that's when I contact Mr. Alvin, because when all this happened, probably like a week after the hearing, or maybe a couple days more, the pandemic started. So I took action basically as much as I could, because everything was like getting shut down. So I wasn't able to enroll to the class. And then I contacted Mr. Alvin because I enrolled to the BIADA, and he recommended me to appeal because the situation started getting worse, every day with the pandemic. And I don't want to sound like I'm making an excuse. So basically my main concern was to have my license suspended. And actually, my entire family got positive with the COVID-19, and we came back to work on September the 1st. So we weren't working for about a month. So by getting my license suspended, that was technically, take my whole business down, because that's the only income that my dad, my mom, and I have. So that was my petition on this second informal hearing to remove the suspension because of that, because we were really affected by the COVID-19. Actually, I got 3 family members that passed away, and I was just not in a good situation. And technically, still now, we just have like 2 weeks that we have been working since we were affected. So.
Okay. Are there questions for Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Any questions from the board? Okay, so the recommendation before us right now is a $3,750 civil penalty, a 2-day class, a 90-day satisfactory inspection, reinstating his dealer license. Any other discussion? Any input at all from the board?
You got a quiet group today, Ron. What can I say?
Yeah, and Alvin, Mr. Melendez, thank you very much for jumping in and helping this individual out. Clearly, we got his attention. But if I can get some discussion from the board and/or motion, I would appreciate it.
I'll make the motion that we accept the hearing officer's recommendation for a $3,750 fine, 90-day inspection, and 2-day dealer operator class.
I'll second that.
And reinstating his license, right? Doing away with the suspension.
It was never
Yeah,
suspended.
doing it. Yeah,
No, that's right.
It was never suspended. We just
Yeah,
Right.
we're good.
Okay. So Chris Mayer made the motion and it was seconded by Rob Fisher, was it?
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion from the committee? Hearing none. Alice, if we can go ahead and take a vote.
Ron Cody,
Aye.
Steve Farmer,
Aye.
Gardner Britt,
Aye.
Rob Fisher,
Aye.
Matt McQueen,
Aye.
Chris Mayer,
Aye.
Jeff Malloy,
Aye.
Senior Sagafi.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, motion carries. 3750 civil penalty, 2-day dealer course, 90-day satisfactory inspection, and obviously no other action against the dealer license at this point in time. Mr. Jimenez, you'll be given an opportunity to speak in the full board meeting as well. If you'd like, that will occur obviously later on today. Is there any other new business from the floor?
I have a
Thank
question.
you.
A comment.
Excuse me?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm done, or I have to stay with on the line with you, with the United Auto.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you.
I said I'm done, or I still have to wait.
No, you're done with this committee meeting. If you would like to speak again in the full board meeting, sir, you can do that, and that will occur after all of our committee meetings today.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for your participation. Any other new
you're
business? Any other new business from the floor?
This is Antonio, still with Speed Hunters. So, just to have everything 100% clear, the decision was made. Is there anything else I have to do, or?
So the decision was made here by the committee group, Antonio, and what will happen is we will hear this case again in the full board meeting. And then at that point in time, a final decision will be made, and then William and the dealer board will be in contact with you as to how to handle the actual case and the results of the case.
Okay. Now, and at what time is the formal hearing?
It just
or
depends.
do I have to stay in the line? Do I have to stay in the line, wait for it, or how does that work?
You do not have to stay on the line per se. However, the timing is always suspect because we do not know how long the rest of these committee meetings will take. And it will be up to you as to whether or not you want to participate in the full board meeting again, which will occur later today, probably in the next hour or so.
Okay, and my last question, and sorry to bother everybody. On that final hearing, does the decision that here you guys made, can it be changed, or what can happen?
you've already had a fact finding, and then I think this was a formal, and then once, William, do you want to answer that?
No, you go. You're fine. You're good so far.
So you've had a formal hearing. So then at this point, once we vote on the final recommendation or civil penalties today, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure before I hang up on the line. So thank you for your time for everybody, and I appreciate the help that everybody has given me.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you.
And,
Have a good day.
Thank you. Hearing no other new business from the floor, our next meeting will be scheduled for November the 9th, 2020, and dealer practices stands adjourned.
Yes, Mr. Slaughter.
There we go. I'd like to call the License Committee to order. Alice, can I have you conduct a roll call?
Maurice Slaughter,
Here.
Ted Bailey, Dan Bannister,
Here.
Liza Borges, Gardner Britt,
Here.
David Duncan,
Here.
Rob Fisher,
Here.
Randy Harris,
Here.
Senior Zagafi,
Here.
Don Sullivan.
Here.
Right. Mrs. Slaughter, you have a quorum.
Great. For as far as public comment, anyone that has an agenda on here will give an opportunity to speak. But are there any other public comments at this time? With no public comments, I'd like to say if there's no objections to the July meeting committee meetings and minutes, I'd like to approve those meeting minutes. Do we vote on that, or is that approved?
It's approved.
Okay. Old business. Ron Cody, I'd like for you to speak about the license.
Okay, I was going to just do an uncomfortable long pause there, so you all thought I got off. But anyway, the commissioner asked that we engage a group to look at salesperson licensing. The issue at the time was the dealers felt it could take anywhere from 4 to more weeks to get a salesperson license, because obviously there was a lot going on with the SARS-CoV pandemic, and as a result, many state groups had closed to include the DMV offices, and it was a real challenging time. So in July, we kicked off this group effort, which I was very proud to be selected to be in charge of, and we've met I think 6 times over the course of August and into September. And I will tell you, it's been a good group, quite candidly. I mean, it's made up of, and I assume, William, everybody got a handout on what I'm speaking to. If I went to the very end of the handout and you saw all the attendees and contributors, and I will tell you, everybody contributed. It was great because we worked in a collaborative form to come up with some solutions to a very tough problem, and members made up of board members, DMV, the associations, and many of our third-party partners. So where we started and where we ended was a very interesting process, but I think we really came out of this learning a lot about the licensing process and how to handle these challenges as they may or may not come up, and a couple questions that we're going to pose to the committee and then probably to the full board as we start thinking about the environment in which we live in. But if you look at the handout I provided, we really broke it up into three major elements: the testing process itself, background checks, and then the physical licensing that occurs with the dealer board. And I didn't know it, but there's close to 1,400 licenses prior to SARS-CoV. 1,400 licenses processed monthly, about 700 new and 700 changes as people move around dealerships. That's quite a volume. And then the COVID hit, and DMV was forced to close. So really our primary means of testing through the Division of Motor Vehicles was closed. And then as they started to reopen, appointments were taking, many got frustrated because appointments could take up to 7 to 14 days to get tested by DMV. So dealer board was also jumping in, helping with testing. So both the dealer board and DMV worked very hard to do what they could to get as many people tested as quickly as possible. But again, the frustration was a little bit high by the dealerships because at the same time, they're trying to hire people for the PPP loans and everything else that was going on. But in a collaborative effort, DMV got to a point over the last 90 days or so where they administered 545 tests. William and the dealer board worked really hard with dealerships as well, as did DMV, supporting testing efforts at both dealer board locations as well as dealer locations, and was able to accomplish with DMV quite a testing volume. The other thing we noted is that since the SARS-CoV pandemic, the sheer volume of new applicants was down by about 49%, 360 versus the 700 we were dealing with earlier. And as we looked at this problem, obviously, as you look across the state, not all areas have the same volume of testing that needs to be accomplished. So like Northern Virginia, 47% of the testing was done up in that area, Tidewater 28, and the remainder 25% was spread around the state. But we got into this continued discussion. Everybody talked about the options we had available to us. And the other comment I have in your notes there is, as a result, obviously, and this is just kind of a given, as we have utilized the dealer board staff to do the testing more and more and to administer it, we have had less time to be out in the field. But honestly, the field has not suffered because we really, because of the COVID issues, cannot really be visiting dealerships at the rate we were for the safety of everybody. And thank God, because as a result, dealer practices has less cases. But so we got into a number of discussion topics, and one that was brought up quite often was, the current code defines salesperson testing as, that responsibility and oversight of the dealer board with DMV to do the testing. And once the DMV closed, we had very little options except to have the dealer board doing some of the proctoring of the tests. But the question, and I put it in bold print in my outline, that we all wrestled with is, should we look at other alternatives as we move forward? And if something like this was ever to happen again, to where DMV was forced to close, the dealer board was running on minimal staff, should we look at other ways to conduct testing? And this is one we wrestled with a lot, because the code is pretty explicit in what it says has to be done to administer the test. One of the ideas was, could we use the online practice test? Could we have dealerships self-administer the test and obviously submit the results? So that's one that I think, we'll have to wrestle with as a board, and you guys as the licensing committee will wrestle with as well. And I guess, we probably want to leave that for, let me finish my kind of discussion, and we'll come back. But as DMV started to open, and was able to help more and more accommodate us. I know they did everything they could. The Sterling Customer Service Center really came to our rescue in Northern Virginia and provided 45 slots a week to help up there. And William, I think we're utilizing those slots to the best of our ability, and hopefully now just about as at capacity as we get the word out that the Sterling CSC is helping us. And Commissioner, we greatly appreciate that.
And as far as the capacity of the Sterling CSC, the first 2 weeks we had 30 to 35 people, I guess, booked to take the test there. In both situations, about 7 people, about 20% failed to show. But this Wednesday, upcoming Wednesday, we utilized all 45 slots. So as you said, as time has gone on and the word's gotten out, it appears that we will be able to at least use all the slots available to us. We just now need to make sure that people show up as they're booked, so we don't waste those appointments.
Mr. Chairman, let me echo that as well. You have certainly have been a little disappointed in the turnout that we expected. 45 slots in Northern Virginia is pretty important. And as William said, last week we had 35 slots taken. Only 28 people showed up. 21 of them passed, so the 7 who didn't pass are going to have to come back and occupy more slots. Yes, I'm very pleased that for the first time in 3 weeks, all 45 slots have been taken. But I'm making a plea to all you dealers who are sending someone over to DMV to take up a slot to make sure they show up. Because if we continue to have this lack of people showing up, we might have to move to every other week, because that was 17 slots last Wednesday that could have been used for DMV purposes. So I'm just pleading with all the dealerships in Northern Virginia that if you send someone to be tested, make sure they show up.
Thank you, Commissioner. And so point well taken, guys. We need to make sure that if we're going to occupy a slot that they do show. This concept right now had a start date of September 2nd with an end date of October 14th. So if we don't prove our worth here, we're going to have a real challenge moving forward in occupying these DMV slots. And again, the process, if you haven't seen it in all the association newsletters, I know I saw a bunch from VADA, and I assume VIADA has gotten the word out, is that you register with the dealer board. Your registration must occur the Friday before to utilize these slots. And as the commissioner said, you need to be there on the following Wednesday so the spots don't go to waste. Right now, we have no other prearranged agreements with the CSC locations. However, I will tell you, and I'm going to probably say this a few times, I think the availability as more and more service centers has opened up, that I think we as a group, and that being the committee or group we had here looking at this problem, really believe that we've made a lot of progress, and we really haven't heard any complaints of lately dealing with the testing process. But as I continue to go on in this discussion, let me just say that a number of other options came up. One was to utilize other third-party type locations like auction houses, Mannheim, etc., Odessa, and that had an interesting twist to it that we're going to continue to evaluate just as an emergency accommodation, or if for some reason we believe we need to add additional testing capacity back into the process. And also, William was able to negotiate with the insurance auto auction folks in Yorktown the ability to use their facility for 10 slots at a time, and that would be proctored and administered by the dealer board. So we're trying all kinds of different things to try to make sure we can stay in front of this. We looked at hotels and some of the like, but the cost associated with it was one that just seemed out of line with what we were trying to do. Plus, the requirements by most of those groups were going to be quite expensive when you look at their cleaning services and the things we needed to do to utilize their facilities. The idea came up, could we test at major dealer locations or dealer groups that had headquarters? And You know, we could utilize some of that. I think the group felt we could utilize some of that when it was testing for that dealer group, but to bring dealer personnel from other locations into what could be viewed as a competitive location was deemed inappropriate by the group. The frequency, and this is why the CSC up in Sterling is so important and we can't lose this, is that we really felt like you needed weekly testing capacity because, again, from the dealer perspective, to have to wait 14 days or 13 days in the worst case to get someone tested was burdensome. We continue to have to deal with how do you administer the testing process when it's not in our normal bailiwick, and that is the registration, fees associated with it, and that kind of let some challenges into the arena when we were talking about utilizing auction houses and other types of facilities. But you know, overall, we felt like if we were to shut down again, we do have some alternatives. We do have some things we can investigate. And William and his team have done a great job looking at other alternatives with VIADA and VADA. And we're going to continue to research, especially the auction houses, because they provide a large enough area where we could have the pure quantity we felt like we needed. So that's where we ended up on the testing process itself. Any questions on that? Okay, background checks, as everyone knows, as of August 1st, you are to utilize one of the approved vendors. We are now up to 5 vendors, and you can see them listed: Screening One, Accurate, Reliancy, Employment Screening Services, Partnership Screening, and the Cole Group. We now have 5 vendors doing this. You know, we got into a philosophical and somewhat business discussion on this because the question becomes, and you can see it in bold there, what is the right number? How many additional vendors should we have? And I think, William, we pretty much cut it off to the people that were in process, right?
That's correct.
Because we just got to a point where we couldn't commit to a quantity if we got too many people that would enable the business or company supporting us through the background check to say, hey, financially this meets our model. Plus, as we added more and more screening companies, it puts more and more burden on the dealer board to have to interface with each of these companies to try to figure out where in fact the background check was completed. We were encouraging people to make sure that they start these processes simultaneously, and it's as important as utilizing the CSCs that the dealers understand that the background check process needs to be completed prior to submitting applications for salesperson licensing, or we're just going to get inundated with administrative burden trying to trace down all the dealerships that have submitted applications without the right process and approval process by the background check company. So we had quite a bit of discussion around that. But the bold print here was, you know, what's the right number? And I think we're probably settling in on somewhere between 5 to maybe 1 or 2 more is going to be it, right, William?
Yeah, I think we got maybe 2 or 3 in the hopper, so it might be 8 at the most. But as you said earlier, all the ones who have started with us, that's what we're dealing with. If some of them drop out, that's fine, but we're not talking to anybody else about becoming a licensed vendor.
So that really dealt with our background check discussion. And then we continue to look at the licensing process itself. And William, you may want to interject in here, but we've done quite a bit of research on the dealer board side to try to make this process a little bit more electronic as kind of a bridge between now and when we get a dealer portal. And the concept really is to develop a specific mailbox for licensing that we could keep an eye on, that dealers could submit applications to be able to send some kind of electronic verification when we get everything that's required for the licensing application, and to be able to provide feedback to the dealer within a relatively short timeframe. And we're talking, 1 or 2 days at the most, but really, as of, I think, 8:30 each morning, status is up on the DMV system as to those people that have been approved for a sales license. So we're coming up with a lot of different ways to try to improve this process. I think, William, our biggest challenge is because of the type of data that's transmitted through this process, it requires encryption.
That is correct. We have identified a process that will allow electronic transmission, but on the application, the MVDB 61, the individual's name and social security number or their T number will be there. So as such, it needs to be sent to us in a secure fashion. So the bottom line here is going to be that the dealerships are going to use this process. They would need to, I guess, download a app. It's called Virtue that we can tell you about later. But for the most part, that allows that transmission to take place between the dealership and the dealer board and have that information encrypted so that it's protected. And that's something that will be free to the dealership community. It's just a matter of learning how to use it, which is relatively simple. But again, something they need to download to participate with. You have to have it.
So that really is an update on where we stand as we looked at all three of these elements to salesperson licensing. And I'd be more than happy to entertain any questions.
All right, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Maurice.
I was saying with no questions, I was going to see if we had any other old business from the floor. With that, Commissioner, last time you spoke about opportunities we may be able to do for people of color, and I'd like to address some of those. I don't know if I should address that at this point, or are you going to give me an opportunity later to discuss those?
Maurice, you can speak now, or I think it might be more appropriate to talk about it at the full board, but that's up to you. Or if you want to talk twice, we'll listen twice.
Okay, I'll take twice. I like that. I like to talk. After talking, I talked to some dealers, Michael Boyle particularly, if he's available. I do think you're onto something there. Historically, when I've been sitting on this meeting and I meet dealers of second and third generation, I'm extremely proud of them. But because of the agencies, not necessarily this agency, other agencies may not have given my dad those same opportunities, I think it's important for all of us to pitch in where we can help to be able to make it more balanced. I look at myself personally. Herman Cain, unfortunately, just picked me while I was in grad school to get a Burger King franchisee. Well, during that time, Ford saw me there in Kansas City and sent me through a dealer training to try to right some things they had done and given us opportunities, people of color. Then after that, Harley Davidson was able to pick me just on my sheer talent. And I became their first African-American dealer in their 100-year history at that time. So I think it gave me an opportunity to have a level playing field to compete on my own talent. I think not only this agency, I think any other agency, anyone that has an opportunity to make it a fair and give everybody an opportunity to do what they can. And I think you were very much onto something. I think you kind of caught a lot of the dealers off guard when we brought it up. But I'd like for us to address it and see if there are some opportunities or some things we could do. From little things like co-oping, having people co-op with you all, having people co-op with some of the auction houses, or at my dealerships, which I have co-ops all the time for kids that want to work in my dealership, college kids. So yes, I would like to address it, I think, at the full board meeting and pretty much repeat what I said. But I think it would be a wonderful opportunity for this agency or other agencies or us as dealers to do what we can to give us those opportunities. Because I would love to be in a position to have a second generation in my family. With that being said, any new business from the floor? There's no new business on the floor, so I'm going to move to close this committee meeting. Our next meeting will be November 9th.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
This is John Henson from Alden Wynn Brooklyn Finance. How you doing?
Good.
I was asked uh, to attend this meeting at 9 o'clock in reference to this situation with my dealership with the prior deal operator, Jermaine Knight, in reference to Mr. Darden deal on the judgment from the Hampton City Court. And I know that they approved a payment of $7,000.
Okay, who's speaking? Sir, tell me your name.
John Henderson.
Yes, sir. Case comes up.
William Heath?
Yes.
Yeah.
Transaction Recovery Fund Committee, yes.
Sir, that committee will come up in just a few minutes here, and we'll discuss that under tab 6 under the Transaction Recovery Fund Committee. And you'll have an opportunity to speak then, sir.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
William, am I up?
Yes, you're up.
All right, I'd like to bring the Motor Vehicle Dealer Board Advertising Committee to order. Alice, I'll let you call the roll.
David Duncan,
Here.
Ed Bailey? Dan Bannister?
Here.
Michael Bohr? Liza Borges? Randy Harris?
Here.
Ron Cody?
Here.
Jeff Malloy?
Here.
Matt McQueen,
Here.
Maurice Slaughter?
Here.
Don Sullivan?
Here.
David, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Alice. If should just want to stay on the agenda. If anyone has any public comments, we limit them to the topics on the agenda, or you can bring it up right now. As far as approval of the July 20th meeting summary, if there's no objections, the July 2020 committee meeting is approved. As far as old business, there was nothing on the agenda as far as old business. Is there any old business from the floor? Seeing none. As far as new business, didn't have anything on the tab. However, if there's any new business from the floor, I'll be glad to entertain it now. All right, seeing none, our next meeting will be Monday, November 9th, 2020. I will adjourn the advertising committee meeting.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the Transaction Recovery Fund Committee to order. Alice, if you can call the roll, please.
Chris Mayer,
Here.
Malloy?
Here.
Dan Bannister?
Here.
Michael Bohr?
Steve Farmer,
Here.
Rob Fisher?
Here.
Randy Harris?
Here.
Ron Cody,
Here.
Matt McQueen?
Here.
Maurice Slaughter?
Here.
Don Sullivan?
Here.
Chris, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And just a reminder, if your phone is not muted and you're not speaking, please mute it when you're not speaking, then unmute when you speak. It'll help for a cohesive meeting here. Under public comment, is there any public comments? And if there are, they're going to be limited to the topics that are listed on the agenda. Moving forward, I move that we approve the July 13th, 2020 meeting summary. Is there any objections? Hearing none, we'll approve that. Old business. Is there any old business from the floor? And under new business, we've got quite an exciting array here this morning. And William will move straight forward to tab number 5, John Fauci versus GNN Auto LLC. William, could you read the summary on that, please?
Yes, thank you, Chris. On August 25th, 2020, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Section 46.2-1527.3 against GN Auto LLC. Based on the information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended approval of payment to John Fauci in the amount of $25,000 from the transaction recovery fund.
Is there anybody here this morning that would like to speak in regard to this case? Is there any discussion from the members this morning? Would anybody like to make a motion?
As sad as it is, I make the motion that we accept the recommendation. I guess this really shows us when you don't step up as a dealer and do the right thing, this is where it can go. We're taking an $8,000 transaction and looking at a $100,000 situation. So as sad as it is, I make that motion that we take the recommendation. So.
Okay, so Rob Fisher makes the motion. Is there a second?
Dan Bannister, second.
Dan Bannister. Okay, Alice, we need to call the roll, please.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, Rick Holcomb, before we call the roll, we just ask the AG's office to do as they normally do, just confirm that this is an order and the proper judgment from the court.
We can't hear you, Christian. Christian, I can see you, but we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Yeah, he says good. 2 thumbs up. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so we've got an approval from the Attorney General's office and what appears to be a verified claim. We have a motion made and a second. So Alice, if you call the roll for the vote, please.
Chris Mayer,
Aye.
Jeff Malloy,
Aye.
Dan Bannister,
Aye.
Steve Farmer,
Aye.
Rob Fisher,
Aye.
Randy Harris,
Aye.
Ron Cody,
Aye.
Matt McQueen,
Aye.
Maurice Slaughter,
Aye.
Don Sullivan.
Aye.
Okay, Chris, motion carried.
Okay, moving on to tab number 6. There's a claim for $7662.43. William, would you read the summary, please?
Yes, Shanita Darter versus All-in-One Brokers and Finance LLC. On August 25th, 2020, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Section 46.2-1527.3 against All-in-One Brokers and Finance LLC. Based on the information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended approval of payment to Shanita Darden in the amount of $7,662.43 from the Transaction Recovery Fund.
Okay, so that is our summary. Is there anybody here to speak on this topic today?
Yes, sir. John. Yep. John Henderson.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Could you speak up again, please?
Yes, John Henderson.
Okay, Mr. Henderson, what would you like to say about this this claim?
Oh, I read out the summary and I went over the facts in the last hearing we had. And I agree with the situation that a lot of mistakes were made by Mr. Wright in the course of him running that dealership in my absence during my heart transplant and stroke. And a lot of things was misrepresented to Miss Gardner. However, like I said, that my thing was since Mr. Knight had admitted that he had shredded some of the evidence, it left me in a position to try to rectify the situation with them. And then when I did try to, they didn't want to pay for the difference in the mileage. But long short, I agree with the finding of the board. However, only thing I'm asking for, because when the time the summer's coming out, they had me isolated because of heart transplant, and my immune system was low. So I was in the hospital during the time that summer came to the house, so we got returned. But what I wanted to know, basically, how much time do I have to pay that $7,000?
Well, Mr. Hendren, we certainly are sympathetic to heart transplant. I can only imagine what that's like. And it sounds like you do agree with the hearing officer's recommendation that we pay this claim for $76.62.43. And I'm sure that the dealer board and the state of Virginia will work out a payment plan with you to get that taken care of.
Okay.
Mr. Henderson, thank you for participating today, and we hope and pray you get better and feel better.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, before we go further, because of interest being involved with the recovery fund, we do not allow payment plans on the recovery fund.
Okay.
So that's something
Well,
that we paid, but we'll give in this time frame.
Mr. Henderson, I would suggest you get with the dealer board to figure out how you can get that taken care of.
Oh, okay. Is a certain time frame it got to be paid in? A certain period of time? Okay.
Once your case goes before the full board and the final decision is made, we will send you paperwork and correspondence. You'll be able to talk to us, but we'll give you all the information you need to make the payment within the required time frame. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Have a great day. Is there any other discussion from the Transaction Recovery Fund Committee meeting people? Members? No other discussion? Do I hear a motion?
I would make the motion that we accept the hearing officer's recommendation. It is unfortunate, but then I think we should go ahead and pay the claim. I would make the motion.
Okay, so Rob Fisher makes the motion. We accept the hearing officer's recommendation for $76.62.43. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Maurice.
Second by Maurice Slaughter. Alice, if you'd call or is there any? We don't have to do discussion, do we? No. Alice, can you call the roll, please?
Chris Mayer,
Aye.
Beth Malloy,
Aye.
Dan Bannister,
Aye.
Steve Farmer,
Aye.
Rob Fisher,
Aye.
Eddie Harris,
Aye.
Ron Cody,
Aye.
Ed McQueen,
Aye.
Maurice Slaughter,
Aye.
John Sullivan.
Aye.
All right, Chris, motion carried.
Okay, so tab 6 motion is passed as recommended by the hearing officer. Moving on to tab 7, some of you may not have tab 7 on your list there. William, if you'd read the summary for tab 7, it is a claim against the Transaction Recovery Fund for $1,591 and $56 in court cost. $1,591.63 plus $56 in court costs. And William, if you'd read the summary, please.
Yes. Prior to reading We did discover this weekend that tab 7 did not download when the books were sent out to everybody, but Alice did come in yesterday and sent tab 7 out to everyone. So you should have it in your email somewhere if you don't have it in your book, but it was sent out to everybody yesterday. All right, tab 7, Robert Shawsville versus Premier Auto Solutions, LLC. On August 2nd, 2020, an informal fact-finding conference was conducted to address the alleged violations of Virginia Code Section 46.2-1527.3 against Premier Auto Solutions, LLC. Based on the information provided at the conference, the hearing officer recommended denial of payment to Robert Shaw in the amount of $1,591.63 from the recovery fund.
Okay, so for those of you who did not get this tab 7 and haven't looked at it yet, this is a case where a car was sold to an individual. A GAP policy was sold to the customer. There was a claim the car was wrecked. The consumer was paid a certain amount of money from the insurance company, and there was a balance of $1,500 to pay off the loan with this local credit union. When the claim was made, it was discovered that the dealer never paid the GAP coverage to the warranty company. The court did not find fraud in this. I'm a little surprised about that, but it's not just my opinion. We've got other people to look at this. I think there's quite a bit of intent involved by not paying for a GAP coverage. I've seen dealers in the past that'll sell a warranty and not pay the warranty, and in my eyes, that's theft. It's not oversight. But anyway, we don't know the exact specifics of this. Is there any discussion on this? Or is anybody here to speak on tab 7 that would like to speak?
So are we obligated to pay it, being that it's not deemed fraud?
It is a recommendation of the hearing officer that we do not pay this claim. It is not a claim that has fraud involved in it, and I don't believe that we're allowed to pay it if it doesn't have fraud associated with it.
Because that's what
it's unfortunate for the consumer, but if he had come back with a fraud claim, a judgment, then we could pay it, but it does not. So, is there any other discussion? Any motions?
I'll make a motion to accept the hearing officer's recommendation.
Okay, Mr. Bannister makes the motion. We accept the hearing officer's recommendation to deny the claim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Jeff Malloy. So Alice, if you call the roll, please.
Chris Mayer,
Aye.
Jeff Malloy,
Aye.
Dan Bannister,
Aye.
Farmer,
Aye.
Rob Fisher,
Aye.
Andy Harris,
Ron Cody,
Aye.
Matt McQueen,
Aye.
Maurice Slaughter,
Aye.
John Sullivan. Okay,
And
Chris, motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, this is Rick Holcomb. Before you announce the vote, I'm not sure we should have even taken that vote, and I don't want to establish a precedent where we vote on a matter that is not properly before us because it had no fraud in the judgment. So I would suggest that we not announce the vote, and probably shouldn't. And I see Christian is participating. Christian, should we even have taken a vote on this? And if we can't hear you, just thumbs up or thumbs down.
Okay, I called in. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so I think from this, when it was discussed at the just before, there was a judgment. It was not for fraud, and it wasn't for a violation under the code. it was a contract action. If you look at the warrant and debt, it was for a breach of contract. So it was denied by the hearing officer. I think the question by the commissioner is, should you take in a vote? I think the vote was to uphold the hearing officer's decision, because there is a decision by the hearing officer to still make a decision on, because that could be overturned in a vote. So I think a vote was okay to take. As to uphearing the hearing officer decision, you're not making a separate decision.
Okay, I'm good with that, Christian. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any new business from the floor? Hearing none. Our next meeting will be November 9th, 2020. And we move on. Thank you all.
William, how much time do you need to get us ready for the full board?
Commissioner, surprisingly, probably about 7-8 minutes. I'm almost there.
Okay, good. So why don't we, I've got 10:26. You're making me do hard math. So at 10:35, we will call the full board back to, we'll call the full board into session. So you might not want to go too far. Thank you, William.
Thanks.
Okay, I apologize. Let's go ahead and call the meeting of the full board to order. And Alice, let me ask you to call the roll, please.
Dan Bannister. Ken Bailey. Michael Bohr. Ron Borges. Gardner Britt.
Gardner Britt.
David Duncan.
Here.
Steve Farmer.
Here.
Rob Fisher.
Here.
Randy Harris.
John Cody.
Here.
Chris Mayer.
Here.
Jeff Malloy.
Here.
Matt McQueen.
Here.
Senior Sagafi.
Here.
Maurice Slaughter.
Here.
John Sullivan.
Here.
Rick Holcomb.
Here.
All right, let's go back to Gardner Britt. Gardner, are you there?
I see his microphone's lit up. He's trying to talk, but it's just not, and I don't see his image, so I don't see a thumbs up, but I do see it looks like he's trying to say something.
Okay, I'll count him as present. You have a quorum.
Okay. You've got the minutes from the July 13th, 2020 meeting before you. Without objection, that meeting summary stands approved. At this point, we'll take any public comments. Certainly, if you have a case that came before one of the committees, you will have an opportunity to talk at that time. But is there any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll go into the statutory committee reports, and Mr. Cody, Dealer Practices.
Yes, Commissioner, the Dealer Practices Committee did meet earlier today. A quorum was present. The committee approved a summary from the last committee meeting. We then discussed under old business the dealer portal update that William provided. Did you want to hear anything on that at this time?
I certainly, it looks like most of the board was present when William made that report, so I think that we will just incorporate by reference the good report that was given during your committee.
Thank you, Commissioner. There were 4 resolutions that we took under consideration. And the first resolution, William, if you can read tab 1, and this individual, Mr. Mott, was present.
Yes. Gold Star Motor Company and Thomas K. Mott. Whereas based on the evidence and the report of an informal fact-finding conference as prepared by a hearing officer, the Motor Vehicle Dealer Board assessed a $9,000 civil penalty against Gold Star Motor Company and Thomas K. Mott and revoked his dealer operator qualification. He was also issued a written warning for violating Virginia Code Section 46.2-1539. And whereas Mr. Mott appealed the board's decision and requested a formal hearing that was conducted on November the 6th, 2019. And whereas during the board's January 2020 meeting, after much discussion, this matter was tabled to the board's September 2020 meeting to allow Mr. Mott an opportunity to address outstanding customer-related matters associated with his dealership. And whereas the board has reviewed and considered the facts and evidence and the report of a formal hearing as prepared by the hearing officer, Gold Star Motor Company and Thomas Mott for alleged violations of Virginia Code Sections 46.2-1529, 46.2-1539, 46.2-1542, 46.2-1547, 46.2-1550, 46.2-1575, numbers 2 and 6. And whereas based on due consideration, the board believes that the following actions should be taken against Gold Star Motor Company and Thomas Mott. 1, assess a civil penalty of $9,000. 2, issue written warning for violating Virginia Code Section 46.2-1539. 3, revoke dealer operator qualification issued by the board. And 4, Thomas Mott is allowed to retain his salesperson's license. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board mandates that Gold Star Motor Company and Thomas Mott hereby be assessed a civil penalty of $9,000 and issued a written warning for violating Virginia Code Section 46.2-1539, and the dealer operator qualification be revoked, and Thomas Mott is allowed to retain his salesperson's license. And therefore, be it further resolved by the board that failure to comply with the board's mandates will result in suspension of all licenses issued by the board until such time Thomas Mott successfully complies with the board's mandates.
Mr. Chairman, is that your motion?
It is, Commissioner.
Is there a second to that motion?
McQueen second
that motion.
Okay, Matt McQueen seconds. And before we take a vote, Mr. Mott, are you still on the line? And if so, is there anything you wish to add?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you all. No, I mean, the thing is, I'm trying to avoid anything from making it to the dealer recovery fund. So I am paying some other, court assessed penalties. And when we set up a payment plan, I want that to be taken into consideration. And, I'll do, obviously, as always, what you gentlemen, you dictate, I facilitate. And I want to thank you all.
Okay, sir. Any questions of Mr. Mott? Now, as Alice calls the roll, I believe this was the case that we had 2 abstentions, and maybe just to expedite, if you're fine, we will just take what you know the committee as the reason for your abstention and put that as part of the minutes for this meeting. So with that, please call the roll, Alice. Call the question.
Dan Bannister.
Aye.
Gardner Britt.
Aye.
David Duncan,
Aye.
Steve Farmer. Rob Fisher.
Andy Harris,
Aye.
Ron Cody.
Aye.
Chris Mayer abstained. Jeff Malloy.
Aye.
Matt McQueen.
Aye.
Senior Sagasi abstained. Maurice Slaughter.
Aye.
Tom Sullivan.
Aye.
Rick Holcomb.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, motion carries. Mr. Chairman, next matter.
Yes, Commissioner, tab number 2, we agreed to table. It's Midtown Motors. John Forney is unable to attend.
Okay, that motion, so that stays in the body of the committee, so we don't need to take a vote on that. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself, because we are getting a little. Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, your next matter.
Tab 3, United Auto Group, Ahmad Abuzaid. William, if you could read tab 3.
United Auto Groups Incorporated and Hamad H. Abuzaid. Whereas based on the evidence and a report of an informal fact-finding conference as prepared by a hearing officer, the motor vehicle bill report during its June 2020 meeting mandated that Hamad Abuzaid successfully complete the 2-day dealer operator course on or before December 15th, 2020, and that the United Auto Group dealership achieved a satisfactory inspection on or before September the 15th, 2020. And whereas Hamad Abuzaid appealed the board's decision and requested a formal hearing that was conducted on August 11, 2020. And whereas the board has reviewed and considered the facts and evidence and the report of a formal hearing as prepared by the hearing officer concerning United Auto Groups and Hamad Abuzaid for alleged violations of Virginia Code sections 46.2-1529, 46.2-1548, 46.2-1550, 46.2-1575, number 2. And whereas based on due consideration, the board believes the following actions should be taken against United Auto Groups and Hamad Abuzaid. 1. United Auto Groups shall be inspected by a motor vehicle dealer board field representative by December the 14th, 2020, and that inspection shall be satisfactory. And 2, Hamad Abuzaid shall successfully complete the 2-day dealer operator course by March 14th, 2021. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board mandates that United Auto Group's dealership shall satisfactorily pass an inspection conducted by a motor vehicle dealer board field representative on or before December the 14th, 2020, and Hamad Abuzaid shall successfully complete the 2-day dealer operator course by March 14th, 2021. And therefore, be it further resolved by the board that failure to comply with the board's mandate by the required dates will result in the suspension of all licenses and certificates issued by the board until such time the United Auto Group's dealership and Hamad Abuzaid successfully complies with the board's mandates.
And Mr. Chairman, is that your motion?
It is, Commissioner.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I'm sorry, was that Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And was Mr. Abuzaid, was he on earlier this morning?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Sir, if you're on, any other comment you want to make to the full board? Okay, discussion? Alice, call the roll.
Dan Bannister.
Aye.
Gardner Britt.
Aye.
David Duncan.
Aye.
Steve Farmer.
Aye.
Bob Fisher.
Aye.
Randy Harris.
Aye.
Ron Cody.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Jeff Malloy.
Aye.
Matt McQueen,
Aye.
Peter Sagafi,
Aye.
Maurice Slaughter,
Aye.
David Sullivan,
Donald, aye.
Rick Holcomb.
Aye. Motion carried. Mr. Chairman, the next matter?
Tab 4, Speed Hunters Automotive Group, and Mr. Jimenez was present.
Speed Hunters Automotive Group, LLC, and Antonio Jimenez. Whereas based on the evidence and the report of an informal fact-finding conference as prepared by a hearing officer, the Motor Vehicle Dealer Board, during its March 9, 2020 meeting, suspended Antonio Jimenez dealer operator qualification, assessed a $4,250 civil penalty against Speed Hunters Automotive Group and Antonio Jimenez, and required the Speed Hunters Automotive Group dealership to achieve a satisfactory inspection within 90 days of Antonio Jimenez's dealership qualification being reinstated. Whereas Antonio Jimenez appealed the board's decision and requested a formal hearing that was conducted on August 11, 2020, and whereas the board has reviewed and considered the facts and evidence and the report of a formal hearing as prepared by the hearing officer concerning Speed Hunters Automotive Group and Antonio Jimenez for alleged violations of Virginia Code sections 46.2-1529, 46.2-1539, 46.2-1561, and 46.2-1575, number 2. Whereas based on due consideration, the board believes that the following actions shall be taken against Speed Hunters Automotive Group and Antonio Jimenez. 1, assessed a civil penalty of $3,750. 2, Antonio Jimenez shall successfully complete the 2-day dealer operator course by March 14, 2021. And 3, the Speed Hunters Automotive Group dealership shall be inspected by Motor Vehicle Dealer Board field representative by December 14, 2020, and that inspection shall be satisfactory. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board mandates that the Speed Hunters Automotive Group and Antonio Jimenez hereby be assessed a civil penalty of $3,750, and the Speed Hunters Automotive Group dealership shall be inspected by Motor Vehicle Dealer Board field representative on or before December 14, 2020, and that inspection shall be satisfactory. And that Antonio Jimenez shall successfully complete the 2-day dealer operator course by March 14, 2021. And therefore be it further resolved by the board that failure to meet the board's mandate by the required date will result in the suspension of all licenses and certificates issued by the board until such time Speed Hunters Automotive Group and Antonio Jimenez successfully complies with the board's mandates.
And Mr. Chairman, is that your motion?
It is, Commissioner.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And I'm sorry, who seconded it?
Don Sullivan.
Okay, thank you, Don. Discussion, and I know that I know the gentleman was on earlier, and I think that he chose not to stay on for the full board. But just in case, Mr. Jimenez, are you on the line? Okay, discussion. Alice, please call the vote.
Dan Bannister,
Aye.
Gardner Britt,
Aye.
David Duncan,
Aye.
Farmer,
Steve, aye.
Rob Fisher,
Aye.
Andy Harris,
Aye.
Ron Cody,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
Jeff Malloy,
Aye.
Matt McQueen,
Aye.
Peter Sagafi,
Aye.
Cody Slaughter,
Okay, the motion carries. Mr. Chairman, does that conclude your report?
It does, Commissioner, and we will meet again on November the 9th.
Okay, thank you. License Committee, Chairman Slaughter.
The committee met this morning. We had no public comments. We approved the minutes from the July 2020 meeting. And under old business, Ron gave us an update on the salesperson's license committee. Is there anything you want to add, Ron?
I don't think so. I think there are one or two potential topics of discussion.
Okay, Chairman Slaughter, let's go ahead and entertain the discussion items. Chairman Cody, what do you want to put before the board for discussion?
So Commissioner, we got into a lot of discussion about the whole testing concept and whether or not the dealer board, as by statute right now, is the only way to really accomplish the testing process. And should we entertain other modes or other ways to do testing in the event of, another situation like this? Whether you self-monitor, whether you have some kind of affidavit and somebody else proctors the test, we kind of went the gamut. We wanted to get a feel for what the dealer board's opinion might be on this whole concept.
Comments? I'm surprised.
I personally, I was on that committee.
I'm sorry. I think somebody was trying to talk.
It's Chris. I was on that committee. And I don't know that I agree that we should self-proctor a test. Just my opinion. I think that there's too much room for error in that, and possibility of people not doing the right thing when not being watched. That's just my opinion. I'm welcome to any other opinions that are out there right now.
Are there other thoughts on the matter? I mean, Ron, let me make a comment, and certainly I'm making this more as DMV commissioner than chairman of the dealer board, because certainly I will defer to the dealer board on whatever they come up with. But let me tell you, we've got probably over 100 school systems that we currently work with where we do remote testing. And we also have a number of community colleges, and we have even some trucking businesses where we do remote testing. And because our test and the dealer board test could be made to the point that it could be done remotely, and so certainly, I would suggest that maybe there might be more discussion on that. I know it's very difficult when we're all doing everything virtually to have everyone sit and give their opinions, but we are in the 21st century, and probably school systems across the country are doing virtual testing, virtual learning, and virtual testing. So it might be time for the dealer board to start thinking about that. So those are just some thoughts that I have. Other comments about proctored or monitored testing at the dealership or at some remote locality?
Yes, Commissioner, I would like to speak to that point as well. And thank you for your comment. Matter of fact, my comments are going to piggyback on what you just said. I have talked to your staff about the possibility of doing some type of remote testing like the school systems do. And I think that's something that can happen in the future and should happen. The only problem we have at the moment is that in order for that to work in this particular environment, we would have had to have a dealership agreed to be the hub for that particular area for all dealerships and not just for their own testing. And that's where the problem came in. During the discussions that Mr. Cody alluded to earlier, the group pretty much felt that to have candidates from one dealership go test in another dealership might not be the best business thing to do, might not be a good look because of the competitive nature of the business they're involved in, and the fear that by going to different dealerships and seeing things, they might be subject to being poached or lured away from one dealership to another dealership based on appearance and based on, I guess, opportunity. But I agree with you. If we can find a central place in each area or each district in which we can set this type of training up, testing up, it could very well work. But we need to find some place outside of a dealership to probably do it, unless the dealerships are willing to step up and allow that to happen, regardless of who the candidate is that's testing.
William, I appreciate that, and certainly I know that during the committee there was some discussion about the auto auctions, and certainly DMV currently has a partnership with Fredericksburg, Harrisonburg, and I believe one of the auctions down in Tidewater. So certainly those could be outlets, if in fact they've got suitable space where social distancing can be provided. So they already have a DMV connection into our system, so we probably could work on that. Certainly, I'm not opposed to working with the trade associations either. Should they want to do some proctored exams on a remote testing, but so I think first of all, Chairman Cody, let me thank you for leading what sounded like a very, very productive discussion. William, let me thank you as our executive director for also supporting moving us forward. And so I just look forward for more discussion and how DMV can be part of the solution, other than just opening up more and more slots that we right now are under a lot of pressure to get those slots to juveniles who are getting their license for the first time. But Ron, I would just ask you to continue the discussion, and as you've got proposals, bring those proposals to the board for consideration.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
I have a question.
Okay, hold on. I think that sounded like Ann. Ann,
Yes,
was
Mr.
that you?
Chairman. Yes, it was. I just wanted to say that we had provided some information outlining a pretty expansive way of doing the testing with, proctoring in each individual dealership. Again, in these times, it was our intention to be sort of as broad as we could. And in looking at the code, we would just note that it says that the test shall be, developed and administered by the board. So in our reading, that's pretty expansive, and the board can decide how it's going to administer that. And that was the purpose of us raising the issue. We're very pleased with how creative everybody's been through this process and making sure that these salesperson's testing can still occur. And wanted to thank Ron and everybody that participated in those weekly calls. But we think we're heading in a good direction, and we just would like to be as expansive as possible, whether that be through, each dealer or the VADA and the VIADA. So thank you for that.
And let me thank you, because I'm again lucky enough to be on your distribution list for what y'all send out. It seems like sometimes daily, but I know it's at least weekly. And y'all have had some very good language in there about how important it is to make sure that these appointments that are made at the DMV Sterling office every Wednesday are honored. So I appreciate the support that I'm getting from y'all on that issue. I think we heard someone else wanted to speak on this.
Yeah, Senior Sagapi, I just had a question. There's places that they do dealer operators classes. I don't know if they're functional right now during the COVID, but could they be at some point be able to participate on conduct testing?
I can't answer that, but I think that's a very good question, sort of on almost like end of course testing. So I think Ron and William, I think that's another issue that you might want to talk about, unless y'all can answer seniors question at this point.
Yeah, Commissioner, we talked about this quite extensively, and the feeling is that like where VIADA does the dealer classes, that we could maybe utilize that space for a half day or a day as they're bouncing around the state offering their courses as well to provide additional capacity. So yeah, it was discussed, and it is an alternative.
Good. Other comments?
Commissioner, the only other comment I'd like to make is, right now we're running under the two assumptions. One is that when it came to background checks, that the let's say the 7 or 8 that we're going to end up with is sufficient to support the dealer body. And if it's not, I'd like to get additional feedback on that at some point. And then the other thing is that we feel like that we're kind of on the downhill slope a little bit on this testing thing. And because the volume's down a little bit, it's not the issue it was in July. And unless someone feels differently than that, I'd like to get that feedback as well.
Okay, so first question, and we had a good report, and I think William said that there are 5 now and potentially 3 vendors in the works for background checks. I would think 8 would be sufficient. I think more than 8 might be too much, because you want to certainly make sure that all 8 are able to stay in business. So comments on background checks? I'm looking, I don't see any microphones lighting up other than Ron and Williams and myself, and someone who has initials MR, but their microphone has been lit up most of the meeting. Okay, William, anything you want to add to the good report that you gave during the committee about the background checks and the number of vendors?
No, sir. I want to thank Ron Cody for chairing that particular committee and all the participants. I felt that each week the discussions got more and more entertaining in terms of information, knowledge, and I was really pleased with the openness of the body as a group, sharing ideas and discussing through ideas and bringing ideas to the table. So I was really pleased that that body came to where it came together, and I thought it was very productive and got a lot of good things done. I also want to emphasize to the board and to the group is that when the pandemic first struck, we were in a wait and see environment for a few months because we kept hearing that DMV will reopen in 10 days or 7 days. And we waited until May 13th before we took decisive action to start proctoring examinations. The biggest thing for me out of this would be that if it should come around again, we have processes in place now that we can react a lot sooner than what we did. And maybe it will not get to the point it got to in July, where people were just so far behind and just overwhelmed with it that it was causing problems. We're not going to be able to get back to 100% proctoring exams the way we're doing it. But I think through the proctor process, the relationships we've built with other people since then, that we can put things in place to at least make it manageable and something people can tolerate until things do get back to normal. So I think the worst case in this whole thing is that we do have processes in place now that we can respond a lot sooner, and we have a lot more people we can go to work on either dealership type appointments or a central location within a region to accommodate larger groups. So I think a lot of good has come out of this. And I'm not looking forward to it being enacted in the future, but if it has to be enacted, at least we do have a plan that we can work with.
William, I appreciate that. And Ron, I think the lack of discussion is not really an indication of lack of interest, but I think it's more that the dealer board and the dealer community has gotten this under control at this point, and that we are processing folks in and out in a lot more quick manner. So Ron, but I'm going to ask you to sort of, continue and have your committee meet as necessary to continue to discuss these wonderful suggestions that you've shared with us today.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Chairman Slaughter, I know you made some very good remarks about inclusion at the committee, and would hope that you would share those remarks again and maybe generate some discussion on that issue.
Well, you brought it up, and I think it was a valid comment, and I appreciate it. And I think it warrants more discussion. For inclusion could come from the manufacturer, it could come from us as individual dealers, but also some of the agencies of the state as well. And I just think we owe it to ourselves as well as the mission to have further discussions to see if there are things we can do that would help make this a more diverse body, opportunity-wise, whether it's career-wise, dealer-wise. And for me being a product of that, it would behoove me not to want to try to help and continue this going. I didn't have my dad in the business, but I had people that cared, manufacturer, other dealers. So I have to step up and say, yes, we do need to at least have the discussion. And we may find out, yeah, that's a lot of things we could do. Or we may find out it's not, but just to pass it over, I don't think it was the way to address it. So I wanted to bring it back up and hopefully have some more dialogue. And I know Michael Burr, I wish he was here because he was passionate at the July meeting, and not to speak for him, we had some discussions. Really good ideas.
I like how mission.
Well, Maurice, this is Dan. Somebody else is on there.
Moved it back and.
Hey, please mute your phones. Hey, Maurice, I agree with a lot what you're saying. My problem with bringing this to the board is that I don't think that we are charged with that. And I think that we would probably have to do something legislatively in order for us to try to enforce or do something other than maybe just make a goodwill gesture through the motor vehicle dealer board. So I don't know what we could do outside of what we're charged with.
Well, and I think that's why we want to have a discussion. There may find out there's a lot of things we could do. It kind of reminds me of our Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas got into Yale because they had a program because they realized some things they hadn't done. And as soon as he got on the Supreme Court, he voted that they shouldn't have that program. And I'm just not that kind of person. Now that I've gotten in and I've proven myself on a level field, I think we should do every opportunity we can to make sure every person that has an interest has an opportunity. So we don't know what we can do or what we can't do unless we have this discussion. So at this point, I think it should be furthered along to a discussion.
Okay, other comments? And Maurice, I think this can be an ongoing discussion item because certainly, Michael was passionate at the last meeting, and I note that he is not participating today. And so, I know that last meeting that there were comments about some strong statements on inclusion, and so I think that while maybe it's not within the dealer board's statutory authority to try to set goals or try to dictate to a dealership what they do. I think that it's certainly not inappropriate for some guidance and some suggestions about inclusion, because I know that I've heard a lot of statements from the VADA and from Don Hall in particular about the importance of inclusion, and I think that this board should continue talking about the importance of inclusion. And certainly if there are best practices that members want to share or the trade associations want to share, I think that this would not be an inappropriate forum, for those idea sharings. So Maurice, I would suggest that we continue to talk about this and share great ideas. I know that Maurice, we just hired our first diversity officer, and while our numbers, both for female and for minority, are higher than state average, we always can do better. And so I'm looking forward to some suggestions from our diversity officer on how we might do things differently. So as an agency. So Maurice, I appreciate you bringing this up. I appreciate your passion. I appreciate you serving as a great example. And so let's continue the discussion, in the future. But anyone else want to offer any thoughts today? This will not be the last time that we'll have an opportunity to discuss this.
Because, Commissioner, I had a dealership in North Carolina right across from Elizabeth City State College. I offered co-ops. I could not get the kids to come over. I have CPAs, I have marketing directors. They just didn't envision, because historically, that there would be an opportunity with Harley Davidson to come work there. And it just hurt me to be right across the street, and I couldn't get them to see across the street. And I think agencies like this have an opportunity, as they have the different job fairs, or they have different people that's working for them, have that mission to understand that we want to include everybody. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maurice. I appreciate your passion. Any other comments? Okay, Maurice, any other business that came before your committee?
Commissioner, no new business. And we have the next meeting scheduled for November 9th.
Okay, thank you, Maurice, and Ron Cody. Thank you again for your leadership in those discussions. Okay, advertising, David Duncan.
Mr. Commissioner, we had a quorum met this morning. We did not have we approved the minutes from the July meeting. There's no items in the old business or new business. And our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, November, 8th, what have you.
Thank you for that very quick and comprehensive report. Chris Meyer, Chris, you ready to report on transaction recovery?
Yes, sir, I am. The Transaction Recovery Fund met this morning. Alice called the roll. We had a quorum. We did approve the July 13th meeting summary. And we had 3 motions that were made. First one was John Falsey versus GNN Auto LLC under tab 5.
Okay.
William?
Gotcha. Whereas pursuant to section 46.2-1527.1 of the Code of Virginia, which is known as the Motor Vehicle Transaction Recovery Fund, the board has reviewed and considered claims submitted by payment from the fund and the recommendation of the hearing officer on the claim. And whereas based on due consideration and recommendation of the hearing officer, the board believes that the following claim should be payable from the fund. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board hereby approves and reaffirms the following claim, which is for John Falsey in the sum of $25,000. Board approves and reaffirms the following claim and up to amount subject to compliance by claimant with statutory requirements. And the first one again is John Falsey in the amount of $25,000 from the Transaction Recovery Fund.
Yay. Mr. Chairman, that is your motion. I will also ask the record to indicate that council confirmed that the was properly before us. So, Mr. Chairman, that is your motion.
Yes, sir, that is our motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, and I'm sorry, who was that?
Don Sullivan.
Okay, thank you, Don. Discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the vote.
Ann Bannister,
Aye.
Gardner Britt,
Aye.
David Duncan,
Aye.
Steve Palmer,
Aye.
Ralph Fisher,
Aye.
Randy Harris, Ron Cody,
Aye.
Chris Mayer,
Aye.
Jeff Malloy,
Aye.
Matt McQueen, Steve Zagafi,
Aye.
Well, it's nice.
Maurice Slaughter,
And that
Aye.
Don Sullivan,
Aye.
Rick Holcomb,
Aye. The ayes have it. Mr. Chairman, your next matter.
The next one is under tab 6, Shanita Darden. Whereas pursuant to section 46.2-1527.1 of the Code of Virginia, which is known as the Motor Vehicle Transaction Recovery Fund, the board has reviewed and considered claims submitted for payment from the fund and the recommendation of the hearing officer on the claim. And whereas based on due consideration and recommendation of the hearing officer, the board believes that the following claim to Shanita D. Darden in the amount of $7,662.43 should be payable from the fund. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board hereby approves and reaffirms the following claim and up to amount subject to compliance by the claimant with statutory requirements.
And, Mr. Chairman, that is your motion?
Yes, sir, that is our motion.
And I'm going to look for a thumbs up from Christian, confirmation that it is also properly before us, having a judgment dealing with fraud.
Yep, and I'm on, so I think you can actually hear me hopefully now. So yes, it's fine.
Great, thank you, Christian. Okay, any discussion? Alice, please call the roll.
who seconded that?
I'll second it. This is Dan.
Sorry, good. Who did second that? I don't think I asked for a second.
Who?
I think Gardner Britt seconded. Dan Bannister. Okay, Dan Bannister second.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, call the roll.
Aye.
Gardner Britt,
Aye.
David Duncan,
Aye.
Steve Farmer,
Aye.
Rob Fisher,
Aye.
Randy Harris,
Aye.
Don Cody,
Aye.
Chris Mayer,
Aye.
Jeff Malloy.
Aye.
Has Matt McQueen left? I know if Matt McQueen left because I can't seem to reach him.
Okay, then just keep calling the roll. We'll count him as a present.
All right, Senior Sagafi,
Aye.
Maureen Slaughter,
Aye.
John Sullivan,
Aye.
Rick Holcomb.
Aye. The ayes have it. Mr. Chairman, I note that the last matter, the committee did not favorably forward that to the board, or they concurred with the hearing officer's recommendation that it not be paid. So, again, Christian, do we need to vote on that since it did not come out of the committee?
You can, well, no, it didn't come out of the committee, so I don't think you need to vote on it, actually. Because there would be nothing to vote on at that point because the committee didn't move it forward.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, with that matter being disposed of at the committee level, is there anything else that you need to report on?
I would just like to comment on the hundreds of pages that I read through on these cases, and what an exceptional job that the dealer board does, and the MVDB staff and the Attorney General's office on their final, input here. I just got to tell you, they really make it simple for us, and they do an incredible job. Thank you all for all you do for us to make it simple, and that's really all I had to say. I wanted to comment on that.
Chris, I appreciate that, and those compliments are very well earned. The staff does a fabulous job for us, and we continue to be very well represented by the Attorney General's office. So we appreciate Christian's assistance as well. So thank you for taking time to do that. So that concludes the transaction recovery funds report. Old business from the floor. We did have a number of items of old business, but I think they were covered adequately during the committee reports. So new business from the floor. I wish that we could give you a report of what's going on with the special session and whether it has any impact on the dealer board or the DMV. There are some budget amendments that will give the DMV a little bit more opportunity to help folks get their transactions done without necessarily coming into the customer service centers. I know that there are some expungement bills that are being discussed at this point. William, quite frankly, I don't know whether they're dealing with any of the barrier crimes that the code currently sets out for the dealer board, but certainly we'll continue to monitor that. I don't know if the trade associations have anything they want to report on from the special session. Hearing none, let me turn it over to our executive director report.
And my report this time is very quick and very simple. I'm going along the same lines that Mr. Mayor went along. I'd like to thank all of those who have worked with us through these trying times. As the commissioner knows from his perspective, this has been very trying on agencies in terms of getting people to work or getting people to work from home. This whole process has just flipped our world upside down in terms of work. The jobs that we're doing and the way we've been doing it have all been created for the office environment. And now we'll suddenly have to look at doing things differently, which is a good thing. I like change, I embrace change, and I think change is good. So I think we'll be fine in the long run. So as we continue to move forth with these things that we're trying to do and these changes, we'll keep you abreast of what we're doing and how we're doing it, but most importantly, why we're doing it. But everything that we do take on and things we do look at, we're looking at for the betterment of the community as a whole, not just the dealer board, but for the dealer community itself. So with that said, we need to continue to talk to one another and sharing ideas. And don't get me wrong. When I say things pretty much like, okay, we can only do A, B, or C, I have to speak from a perspective of complying with the code. Yes, others can do things differently, but one of the things that we at the board have to make sure we adhere to is compliance with the code, that we follow the code. And but it may be some things in the code need to be changed, and we can definitely have those discussions and get some recommendations to move in that direction, especially with the session coming up in January. So again, thank everybody, especially the trade associations, for your cooperation, your input, your ideas, or your commitment to the meetings. And again, to the board members who've been on the committees, and to Mr. Cody for your leadership on both committees and the extra time you put in getting your background information up to speed before you actually do the committee meeting. So I appreciate you all. I appreciate the time spent with you, and looking forward to future interactions with all of you. That's my report, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you, William. Any other items to come before the board? Okay, Rob Fisher, I see that your mic is on. Anything that you want to add?
No, not at all. Just like to thank everybody for their participation, and we're moving forward in a good direction. So thank you all.
Good. Well, without objection, the meeting will be adjourned. And William, remind me that the board meeting is meeting November 10th?
No, November the 9th.
November the 9th. So everyone, please stay healthy and safe, and we'll hopefully see you and talk with you on November the 9th. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Blessings.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, so how are you going to run a new to go to meeting? It's a charge, and I don't really know if that would give you the direct thing. See, new to go to meeting. And if you look at it, I would recommend you call Alice